And welcome back, everyone, to the Box Office Report today on the 26th of April, 2026. And not surprisingly, Michael made it to the number one spot, overperforming from the estimates for Michael. $97 million it made opening weekend. Super Mario Galaxy movie made $21.2 million, dropping 41.9%. Project Hail Mary dropped $13.2 million, dropped to $14.2 million, made $13.2-ish million, dropping 35.6%. Lee Cronin's The Mummy made another 5.6, dropping 58% for the number 4 spot. And the number 5 spot goes to the drama, 2.6 million, a little over, 45.7%. Michael, this is the big one to talk about right now, though. Its debut was 97 million domestically, 120 million plus internationally. For right now, a worldwide total of $217 million. So it overperformed. I believe the estimate was right around 80 to 85, maybe low 90s. It actually got into the high 90s and nearly hit 100 million. So right out the gate, that's good. That shows that there was public interest in this movie. It also goes to show that there's a critic separation between there's a separation between critic and audience, a very stark one if we're being honest. Because a lot of times the viewpoints of critics and audiences do not line up. They just don't, and it's fine. Because again, where a movie's money ultimately lies is in the audience. If the audience likes it, then the critics can go pound sand. But for what it's worth, the critics' opinion should at least be taken into consideration. They aren't people who love movies. That's why they got into this line of work. I just sometimes feel like they've been doing it for so long that it's become work and less something they enjoy. Now, that said, going back to Michael, this is good because worldwide already has made over $217 million. I checked previously. Domestically, it's the 6th highest grossing film of the year. Worldwide, I believe it has kicked out the Durandar film. Yeah. Actually, it kicked out quite a few films. It knocked it out of the top 10. It's currently ironically, number 6 film of the year so far worldwide at $217 million. That's clearly going to cross well above that as the weeks go on. The question really is going to be, how rewatchable do people think the movie is? How many times are people going to go back to see the movie? The movie has very notoriously had production issues. It's split, first off, into 2 movies. And as someone who saw the movie, liked the movie, I understand every criticism that people have about it, including the fact that it does not feel complete. It just ends on Beat It. It just ends on him doing, doing a concert. That's all it does. When clearly there was more they were going to try to tell, because I believe the first film was going to go into a bit of the court cases, a bit into the 90s, but they couldn't because, Michael Jackson State very stupidly forgot, oh yeah, we can't do that. Sorry for making you film all that already. So they had to reshoot and refilm, which shows in the budget. The budget is between $165 and $200 million. Was it 165 or 185? Hold on. 1 second. I want to say it was 185, wasn't it? Oh, no, yes. It was between 165 and 200 million. So if you average it out, that puts it at roughly like 185 for a budget. The fact that they had to reshoot a chunk of this film and split it in 2 films means, the original budget might not have been much over 100 million, maybe like 110, 120. Man, that's something to really think about. What do we think the budget originally was on the film? Because if the budget went up because of reshoots and it went up by a significant amount, then, you might be looking at a film that was made originally on between 120 and 150, which would still be a sizable budget, but a much more manageable budget. As it stands right now, but with the averaged amount at 185 and the amount that Lionsgate allegedly spent on marketing, which is apparently over 50 million, but they don't give an exact number. My guess is if they're saying they did spend more than 50 million on it, I'm going to lean on the side of like 65. 65 million is what my guess is for what they probably spent on this overall. Which means that if you do the math, roughly, this film is made on $215 million, which would add up overall to about the proper amount for a film like this, overall, in the grand scheme of things. Because I don't remember a huge marketing budget on this. I don't remember that. I remember seeing the trailer, sure, but it was not a huge marketing budget. So you're looking at a film made on 250, which means it has to hit 375. Now it's on a good trajectory to do that. Made 97 million domestically, which is, depending on the number, over half the budget, or close to half the budget. So it's got a good start. It does have a good start. But to loop back to what I said at the beginning, it's going to depend on how rewatchable people find the film. If people don't think this film is all that rewatchable, they're not going to go back to see it very much. And with the summer movie season really kicking off this week, I mean, technically it kicked off. It usually kicks off now in April, late April, because usually nowadays you have like the MCU films that debuted. You've had Avengers, Doom, Endgame, Infinity War, several films, but May is really the summer movie season kicking off, and we got Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out this week. You are sticking your head in the sand if you don't think that's going to be a huge opening weekend. It's that just from the trailer alone, that like the amount that thing broke for records. So we're gonna have to wait and see what that does. But for my prediction this coming week, I think Devil Wears Prada 2 is number 1 over Michael, which will be number 2. But still, that doesn't mean Michael can't do well. It does not mean that at all. I mean, let's just take a quick look at the May, because that's really what we gotta look at is May. So let's take a look at the May movie-going season. We got, again, Devil Wears Prada 2. That already is going to take a lot more audience away than anything else. Okay, so then the following week would be the 8th. We've got Billie Eilish. That's really not going to do much. Yes, it's a musical tour, but it's a tour. These things, with the rarest of exceptions, never really do all that great. The Sheep Detectives, a cute looking film, but one that I don't think is actually going to play a huge factor in anything. I think Mike would be fine against that. And then you got the following week. That's where you got a huge week for movies. You've got Is God Is. Not something that would necessarily hurt Michael in the grand scheme of things, but it's still apparently a higher profile film from Amazon. You have, let's see here now, Obsession, the new Blumhouse horror films. Any horror film coming out is going to be a contender. In the Gray, again, probably won't do all that great, but I do like the look of it. I did really like Ministry of Ungentle Warfare and Mortal Kombat 2. All of those could be mainstream films that are going to take a chunk away from everything at the box office, Michael included. And then if you go into the next week, which would translate out to the 22nd, that's when Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, and Passenger, which I don't give a rat's ass about, to be honest. I don't care about ghost stories that much. Just not my type of horror. With a rare exception now and then. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Now, again, Michael, based on my math, just has to make about 370 to break even. If Michael ends up at, like, say, 450, even if we highball it to the 200 million, it still would basically be profitable at that point. Less profitable, but profitable. We're going to have to wait and see what Michael can ultimately do in the long haul, in the grand scheme of things. But it's got a great start. Super Mario Brothers Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy movie. 21.2 million. It's taking decent drop-offs, but currently stands at 831, which does make it the highest film of the year thus far. It is still a decent ways off from the $1 billion mark. It's now, I'm going to definitely put a nail in the coffin. It's not that it can't make $1 billion, but if it makes $1 billion, it's going to do it by the skin of its teeth. For what I'm told, it has like 1 or 2 other markets to really open up in, like Korea, for example. But if that is the case, it definitely is going to need to make a nice chunk from those 2 to 3, those last gasp areas, more or less. It's got to make, for me to feel comfortable in it making $1 billion from those areas, from those markets still, we got to be looking at least 50 million plus between those two alone, which it could probably do. It could do. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying that where it stands right now, if you were to ask me, if all the international releases were completely done, do I think it's making $1 billion? I do not. 169 million more with just domestic left, or with whatever international scraps it's eating up, which aren't that much now. Yeah, I would say that it's not making $1 billion, but I know for a fact it still has some releases, some territories to be released in, and it's still scraping along with the international results. Like, it's not like the international's completely done. With that said, however, again, we got to kind of ask the question. It's the first big hit of the year, like real big hit financially. Like, yeah, Project Hail Mary actually made a profit. It did, which is impressive. But at the same time, Mario Brothers is just made on a smaller budget and made a lot more. So you got to balance it out, really. Like, you got honest. It's like saying, like, this film is like the biggest hit of the year financially for a studio when you break it all down. So the question then becomes, A, why is it a hit? And B, why did it not make anywhere near as much as the original, which made $500 million more than this? And the answer to that is very simple. One, it's Mario. It's an animated kids film. It's still going to make a huge amount of money regardless. That's just a given. And it's based off a very successful IP that had a very successful original film. There you go. There's no real mystery in that. That said, however, why didn't it do as well as before? Well, it wasn't as good of a movie. And honestly, I think that just might be the case because it didn't open quite as large as the first one, but it still opened with over $131 million, which is only like 15 million less. But therein lies the problem. It opened less, and it's not as good of a film, which means the repeat value of watching it goes down. Even, yes, it's a family film. Yes, you can take the kids there to shut them up, but at the end of the day, if it's not as good of a product as the first one, then a lot of people aren't going to come back and watch it in droves again. So, yeah, that's really my biggest thing. It's not like it had any supreme competition out. So that's really the only thing I can say towards it. But yeah, I mean, it's still making money. That's the thing. It was so weird. It's like, again, it's the Avatar Fire and Ash debate. It's like, it only made $1.4 billion. It's such a failure. It made $1.4 billion. It's one of the highest grossing films of all time. Like, if we actually go to the worldwide real quick here. The actual worldwide. No, sorry, all time. Sorry, I want all time. And actually do the numbers real quick here. And this goes to both Avatar and to Super Mario Brothers. So original Super Mario Bros. Is the 20th highest grossing film, on 19th, because F needs that too for those bullshit numbers. Highest grossing film of all time. It's the 19th highest grossing film of all time. And then Avatar Fire and Ash is the 15th highest grossing film of all time. Over 1 million films they ever came out. Currently, Super Mario Galaxy movie stands as the 103rd highest grossing film of all time. And it's very much going to climb over that too. It's going to get into the top 100. So it's weird when we talk about a film not succeeding in a certain way that when it's still made God knows how much money for the studio and still is overall a good time at the box office. It's weird to say that. But then you got Project Hail Mary, something fresh, original in the grand scheme. Yes, it's based off an existing IP, but original. And look, it crossed 600 million this week. Again, Amazon was probably going to be happy if it hit like 400. Its marketing budget, I think, is around 100 million, if I'm not mistaken. So you're looking at 450. If it hit 450, if it hit 500, they were popping balls. Now they're like, yes, we can actually play with the big leagues. Amazon needed a film to do something like this to prove that they are serious about being part of the movie industry now. And I'll answer this again in the Q&A. Someone asked about me adding A24 to the end of your box office. I'm not going to do that. Now, the reason I'm not going to, but I am going to be adding Amazon. Now, there's two big reasons. One, the shareholders did vote on and agreed for Paramount to take over Warner Brothers, but it could still be blocked. But if it's not blocked, then we're losing WB. So I have to add a new studio into the fray here. Just to kind of round it out a bit. Beyond that, though, if a studio makes a film that is able to hit over 400 million, I think that is like a bona fide blockbuster hit, depending on what you make and what the amount you make it on is. If you can make a film over 400 million, I think at that point now you have to be in the conversation to be an all-time, to be added into one of the big studios now for movies. A24 hasn't done that, but Amazon now has done that. So that's why you won't see A24 into the end of the year box office, but Amazon's now going to be joining that discussion. And look, I can only speak to what me and my girlfriend had watching the film. It was a fantastic, a wonderful experience. We deeply enjoyed the film, and I'm so glad for all its success. Hopefully, what might be at least in the conversation for end of the year, a Best Picture nomination. I don't know if it'll be the Best Picture of the year. We've still got The Odyssey. We've still got Dune 3. We've still got a number of films that could all be competing for Best Film. But yeah, good for it. Lee Cronin's The Mummy dropped about 58%. I'm not really all that surprised. It didn't open the highest, and it wasn't the most well-reviewed film in the world. But on a $22 million budget with probably only like $25 million in marketing, 30 at most, you're looking at a film that essentially, if it can hit $75 million, they're going to call it a wash at minimum. And if it can hit 80, then I'd say that's profit right there. Which it looks like it's on its way. It's at 65 million right now. It's only in second week. Yeah, it took a pretty hefty drop. Yeah, it didn't have a big opening weekend, but clearly the international is coming in for it. So as long as they can hit, say, the $80 million mark, hell, even if they just hit the $75 million mark, they're fine. They're good. And they're on a good route to do that. So despite the fact the film wasn't, I liked the film, but the film had a lot of issues with it. Well, maybe not a lot of it, but the film had some standout issues. I think that's a better way to put it. Some standout issues with it. But otherwise, I mean, I still enjoyed myself with it. But who knows? We'll see. Maybe we'll get a sequel to The Mummy. I will admit, though, I don't like the fact he said it takes place in the same world as the Evil Dead universe, because that just means that you're just confirming this isn't a mummy. This is a deadite. That's all you're confirming at that point. Anyway. So then you got the drama, 2.6 million. Look, I said I'm not including A24 in the end of the year box office, and I stand by that. But what is A24? Hold on. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Let's see here now. Everything, Everywhere. We'll just do everything. It'll probably bring it up. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. How much did that go on to make? It actually went on to be, I believe, A24's highest grossing film at 147.9, about $48 million. Now, I think this is coming close to either their second highest grossing or like third highest grossing, but the drama has crossed over $100 million this week. And again, the international really came out for it. The film was made on $28 million, so honestly, even if it stayed at the $44.8 million, that still actually would have been a decent amount, all things considered. But the fact is, it didn't have a huge marketing budget. Again, $20 million probably, if that. So you were looking at a film that had to make $75 million plus, and they made their money back on this film. A24 is slowly creeping into a studio that isn't just making prestige films. They're making their money back in these films now. Well, it used to be that they were going for the prestige of Oscar-nominated films and stuff like that, and they didn't care so much about making money back. Now it's like, oh yeah, now we can do both. So yeah, it seems they're putting their best foot forward on that. Hobbers Manor, 1.9 million, 370 million. It is now officially profitable, so good for it. Actually, it was profitable as of last week. So good for it. Absolutely. 100%. I really enjoyed the film. Very lovely film. The You, Me, and Tuscany, 1.5 million, 20 million. It's not profitable, unfortunately, because it's on what was it? I think it's on an $18 million budget. Small, but just, I think, the problem is this film was not marketed well at all. I don't think anyone knew this film was coming out, save for the small amount of people who saw it. Otherwise, it's really not much to go over this week. But the good news is, as I keep track of the box office this week, as I always do, you're looking at a well over $100 million opening weekend. Weekend at the box office. 100 and almost 40, 50, close to 50 million. That's a healthy weekend at the box office. As for next week, Double Ocean Prod 2, number 1, guaranteed. Michael definitely will be number 2. I have no doubt about that. There's no way it takes a big enough drop to be below Super Mario Brothers in its 5th week. Now, Super Mario Brothers would be number 3, just based on that. Then Project Hail Mary. And yeah, it would still probably be Lee Cronin's The Mummy after that. Even if it takes like a 60% drop, that's still more than the drama would take. So My predictions are Devil Wears Prada 2, Michael, Super Mario Bros., Project Hail Mary, and Lee Crone's The Mummy. Really? Just put Devil Wears Prada 2 in front of Michael, and that's what it looks like. Looks like a repeat, essentially. But this is just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Opinion based off facts, the facts that we have at hand. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.